Exactly, so the defending champions kick things off with a victory against Bournemouth. Luis Garcia is in Mallorca ahead of our big game against Barcelona tomorrow. He was watching this for us. We'll hear from Luis in a moment. But first, let's start in studio. Nedum, this is the first time you've ever watched a Liverpool game with Stevie. How would you describe that experience?
I think it was a remarkable experience. I think for all those that think that maybe he's not really pro-Liverpool, trust me, he lives and breathes it.
Yeah, if there was a ratio of swear words,
I think to sum up, Stevie wasn't really that calm, which says a lot about the game itself.
Absolutely.
At 2-0, you thought, well, maybe he can be calmer now.
Yeah.
But that finish, it was a bit on the stressful side, and I think rightly so.
It's interesting, Steve, because at 2-0, we thought, right, this is going to be easy. We'll just say this is exactly what you expect, obviously. Still some teething problems, but you expect Liverpool to move on and build from this. But they were so vulnerable in that second half, and it turned out to be a Chiesa, as we mentioned, of all people, who comes off the bench to be a hero. But boy, Liverpool were made a sweat.
Yeah, and I think it's important to point out that, you know, in the first half, Bournemouth had some breaks similar to the ones they took advantage of in the second half, and obviously in the first half they didn't do it. So that threat was always there. I mean, it's hard to know which way to go. Clearly, when you win a game, having been 2-0 up, you come back to 2 and you win 4-2. You should be cock-a-hoop, talking about all the positives. But if you're Liverpool, the biggest thing that may hold them back this season, as early as the first game of the season, and we saw a bit of it in the Community Shield, is defensively they do look vulnerable. And if they ever can gel properly going forward, goodness knows how many goals Liverpool will score. Because today they scored 4, and we can't honestly say that they didn't really gel. And a couple of the breakaways came from the things that had been going wrong. You know, somebody playing the wrong pass or a poor pass, and 5 and 6 players cut out the game, and then the opposition are getting to Liverpool. So on the positive front, to score 4 goals and still have way more time to get better. But the negative is clearly defensively. They looked ragged at times. And at 2-2, we weren't sure what was going to happen, let's be honest.
How stark is that negative?
You don't want to overreact to it. That's the first thing. Same way we didn't want to overreact last week. And the fact is they have won the game. But that's 2 games now we've seen where they have been very vulnerable, especially on the counter. And in some ways, as well, as we were watching the game, those subs at 60 minutes, to take off the 2 fullbacks in Frimpong and Kirkez. Yes, Kirkez wasn't having the best of games, so Robertson coming on, that's fine. But why is Watarendo playing right back now? And you can see Liverpool lost a little sense and sort of control of the game as such. So those opportunities that the opposition have, I'll be honest, from the perspective of somebody who's played for more underdogs than, say, favourites throughout a season, when you see a team show a sort of vulnerability like Liverpool shown in these last 2 games, it offers you encouragement. I think when they look rock solid, in some ways you sort of put off and you wonder how. But Semenyo running through for that second goal, nobody laid a glove on him. Nobody at any point. But then also, you look around it, how many people were sprinting back? Probably fewer than you would have expected from a Liverpool side. So I think defensively, yes, that is a concern. You know they'll get better. But if you have to score 4 goals every week to be winning games of football, I think that's going to be a concern.
Okay, so you obviously follow German football closely. Ekitik came with a big price tag. 2 goals in 2 for him so far to start his Liverpool career. Perfect stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think anytime any player comes into a new club, a new league, you know, after a big price tag, there always seems to be like there's a little pressure that you want to get off to that quick start, so then it doesn't start becoming 4 games, 5 games. So now the key, though, for any player that gets off to a quick start is to sustain it. To not then be like, oh, look, he started well, but then you know, the fixture congestion over Christmas, and he just can't handle the pressure of the league and the pace. And I mean, he really looks like in a team where you're talking about defensively need time to gel, he looks like he's started perfectly for what they needed. Because what was a lot of conversation? Liverpool needed a striker. They needed that number 9. And when you get a start like that against a big money signing, it's perfect.
Luis, how is it watching it from Mallorca, from your perspective, obviously with your Liverpool hat on, delighted with the victory, but there is going to be doubts, isn't there, considering what we've seen? Or are we going over the top here? It's only the first game of the season.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that I'm trying to get, as always, the positive side. It's the first game of the season. They are players who have to adapt to a new style, a new team, a new league, the intensity, and to be exposed many times. You guys are talking about that Liverpool right now looks really, really vulnerable at the back. Don't forget, Keller is true that he struggled today, had a lot of problems to hold in that left side on his own. They are two players in the middle of the park, McAllister and Soboslai, that they do a fantastic job, but they are always attacking minus, so the transition are always going to be in favor of the opponent that is waiting for those kind of situations. And it's true that the depth in the squad that the Liverpool has got at the moment is why today they managed to get the result, because at the point of 2-2 I was really doubting they were going to get on the top, because I think Bournemouth did a very good job. But again, we are talking about the first game of the season, players adapting. Let me say something quick about Ekitik, because today I think that we saw a little bit of what a player can give us in the last third, but because the layoff, the holding the ball, the movements, the runs, the connection between him, Wirtz, Salah and Gabo, it was fantastic for just a short time that he's been on the team. So he's a player who I think that is going to give a lot to this Liverpool side. So it's true that in the last couple of games, Arnold mentioned about being vulnerable and being exposed quite often. They conceded 4 goals in the last 2, but this Liverpool, he has to improve on that matter. They just signed a new centre-back, so that means they know that it's something they need to be fixed. But in the end, they scored 4 goals once again, and they managed to get the 3 points the first game of the season. So I'm getting to all those positive vibes, and I think that this Liverpool is going to be right there, getting fixed what they need to do, and up front again being really a big threat every single time that the ball is in the last third.
Amazing how easy it is to be positive, sat in Mallorca. Stevie, talk to me about Ekitik.
Let's be honest, the start of the game, the first half in particular, he was carrying Liverpool's forward line. Second half, Gakpo came into it a little bit, but Mo Salah had the kind of game that he's had quite a lot. As much as he scores a lot of goals, he didn't do an awful lot, but he did get his goal. And so the conundrum going forward is going to be, when is Wirtz going to start doing what Wirtz was brought in to do?
How would you rate him today?
I thought he was pretty average, to be honest. I think he probably passed the ball to a blue jersey more than he did a red jersey. I think most things he did, he was not convincing in what he was trying to do. There was no real pace about him. And he was kind of floating around as if he wasn't sure where he should be to get the ball. Now, at the end of the day, that takes time. You can't just throw 3 or 4 or 5 players together and think they're all going to understand what everybody's looking for. But I think he's the obvious one who is looking and searching to figure out what he should be doing. And really, what he should be doing is getting the ball in the final third. That's where he should be on the ball. But he doesn't seem to be getting it in the final third. And when he's coming short, he's not doing enough with it. So they've got to figure out how to use this guy's ability. Because there's no question he can play. He's just got to get in the right position with the right balls, and then he has to then play the right passes.
Well, and that's what he did for Leverkusen. He was always in a more advanced position, but he had such a free role at Leverkusen. Just find the attack, look for the open man if they're open, but if not, then try to dribble 3 guys and score yourself. And so I think I agree with Stevie 100%. It looked like he was a little too far deep. He was trying to find the ball, but wasn't quite sure where to find the ball in that setup. But I think he's such a quality player that give him a couple weeks, and I think he'll figure that out.
The other thing as well, from a defensive point of view, Wirtz being one of the 3 in the middle with no Gravenberg.
Right.
Then
He was suspended today, obviously, that's why I didn't...
Yeah, that's why he's not... But that's a clear problem, because Soboslai and McAllister could probably do a better job than he probably did. He's not 100% fit. He's missed a lot of the pre-season. But without Gravenberg and then Wirtz being one of those 3, Wirtz gives you nothing defensively. Which, again, it's not why he's there. But if you're going to play him in that 3, you need to have somebody who's really solid, who's going to be in front of that back line, and who's going to stop the second goal that we saw Semedo, because he just ran straight through the middle.
Yeah.
Somebody like Gravenberg would stop that. So they have to do that, and then they have to figure out where Wirtz's best position is.
Every man, I think, that I asked when he signed, agreed that Kirkes was a great addition to the squad. How do you explain a day like today?
You can have bad days. I think the fact that his very first game is against his former side, against probably the best player for Bournemouth as well in Semenyo, he probably knew he was going to be on the back foot. And in fairness to Bournemouth, they kind of targeted him. And that matchup, as we saw today, is probably something which they saw every day in training through the time that they were together. So they knew that it was going to favour Semenyo.
Right.
And also, this is a young player getting a chance to play now in this situation for Liverpool, a team trying to retain the title. So there'll be nerves in there. And I think for me, it looked like a nervous performance. I think the yellow card itself, just before he committed the foul, you could hear the crowd say, "Come on," because he's keen to go and make that tackle. But when he's a bit calmer and the nerves aren't there, you understand that he can't get there. So he plays a different sort of game. So it looked to me like a youngster's performance. But unfortunately for him, it was against a player who, basically has probably had his number for the last couple of years anyway.
From a youngster to a veteran, Luis. Mo Salah, what do you say about him?
Salah, what can I say? He scored once again. And again, I think that today it was really emotional. We saw him really struggling when the crowd sang a song for Diogo Jota. I think that that matters. Sometimes we forget that we are talking about human beings, and some they receive that situation in a different way. And today probably he felt in some part. But again, Mo knows how to react. Today probably wasn't the best game. He was again trying to adapt to the new players. He got Ekitik running all around, finding the places, trying to link with him, but sometimes he couldn't find him. So in the end, he managed to score that goal that I'm sure that is going to settle into the season. And we are talking about the top scorer of Liverpool for the past many years. So again, sometimes we have to give him a break and not try to put the focus all the time on him when he's not performing, because he's surrounded by top quality players. So we'll see the best of Mo Salah in the coming weeks for sure.
Our producer, who can't think for himself, had to ask you whether or not to have Salah in his fantasy team.
He cannot think for himself at all, by the way.
You said no, he's past it, don't bother.
Yeah, that's not exactly what I said, no. I wouldn't go that far. I was talking more about general performance, but I did say that he will always have a chance and he'll always have a moment. But again, this performance today wasn't one of Salah's best. But I think to sum up, the fact is he can still have an impact. And yeah, it's nice that you tried to call me out like that on TV, but like I say, fair play to him. But there's certain times where it's frustrating because he's had some 2v1s, some 1v1s, and the decision making isn't necessarily perfect. But the fact is he can still continue, can still step up and can still be trusted in his Liverpool side. And now he's having, different players playing around him. So he kind of needs to find his feet as well. But I think the point that Lewis made is a big one, because today for Liverpool was always going to be an emotional day, and you've got a bunch of players who are going to do everything they can to try and have like a good performance to sort of commemorate Diogo Jota, and that's tough to play in, because I can go back to my career. In 2008, I played in the Manchester derby on the same day of the Munich disaster. It's commemorate, I think it was maybe 50 years or whatever it was, and that day for United was a tough day for them. We ended up winning and we hadn't won there in 35 years. There's something about that sort of sense in the stands, what people really want and what they long for isn't necessarily something that comes easy. So credit to Salah, credit for Liverpool for finally getting it done.
When you looked at the squad that was put out today, Stevie, no surprise at all that it's Chiesa who's the hero.
Yeah.
Never in doubt.
That was incredible. When he was coming,
I was screaming to get him on.
I don't quite remember that being part of the narrative in the room. That's incredible.
I mean, you got to give him credit. Clearly he looked as though he couldn't wait to get on. And then when he did get on, he's popped up and he's focused, he's concentrated. He's not. It'd be easy for somebody like him, for what he's already done in his career. And he's not stupid. He knows that we're all kind of, Chiesa, yeah, we're all having a little snigger here and there. But his experience and what he's been through previously, that's water off a duck's back. And that's why he's able to come on in a game like this with not a lot of time to go and be at it and be ready for that opportunity. And that's the key for every player. Be ready, regardless of the situation. If it drops to you, because you don't know whether it will, sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. But if you're ready for it, then you can do what he did and take the opportunity.
Does this make any difference with regards to whether or not you let him go between now and the end of the transfer window?
The goal doesn't? No, I don't believe so. It's about getting players in. If they get players in, then you can let them go. But until then, you can't do it. Regardless of whether he scores or not today, they can't afford to let another body go.